Hello, I'm Heather Fisher. Did you know that 44% of women have long hair and 12% of men have long hair? In this study, the definition of long hair is shoulder length or longer. Because so many of our population have long hair, they do have problems with hair getting in their face or a lot of hair tangling. So I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to French braid hair. These are the tools I will be using today. The important parts are the wide tooth comb. I'm using a tail comb for finishing touches. And then I have a few products that I will explain while I'm doing the hair. My model today is going to be my daughter. As you can see, her hair is shoulder length or longer, so we are going to be able to get a decent braid in here. Now, when you're working with hair, sometimes, especially if you have fine hair, you are going to have struggles with your hair falling out of the braid. This is especially true if your hair is healthy and clean. In order to combat this, what you want to do is add a texturizing product to your hair if you've just washed it. I have a texturizing product here. You could also use mousse, maybe a light gel, to kind of get some grit to your hair so that when you weave that together, it can grip itself instead of just sliding off. Now, my daughter does not have freshly cleaned hair, and if you look closely, you'll see some shine on there from some oil. That oil also will cause it to slip off. So I'm going to apply some dry shampoo to her hair. This is going to give it a little bit more grit and kind of help absorb some of that oil as well, so she doesn't look quite as so shiny. You just lightly lift the hair and spray this on. Dry shampoo is very amazing. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. It's not necessarily healthy for your hair to be washed every day, so dry shampoo will control your oil while keeping your hair healthy. I'm going to go ahead and comb that dry shampoo through. If you can see in this video, you can see we've reduced a lot of that oily shine in her hair. And it doesn't feel super gritty. It just is, you're going to see that it's going to hold itself a little bit better. Now, when we start this French braid, we're going to go ahead and start this. We're going to try and get her to put her head down as she watches a video. I find that very nice for young children to keep them holding still while you work on their hair. I'm going to take out a little section in the front and center. Depending on the style of the braids you want, you may actually take out a section on one side or the other. Because if you're stylizing it, we're working right now on just the basic French braid. So front and center is my section. The bigger the section that you take here, the farther down the braid is going to start on the head. The smaller the section, the farther up the braid is going to start. When you have this section, we're going to go ahead and split this into 3 pieces. Braids are 3 pieces. With these 3 pieces is kind of a basket weave. We're going to take one side piece and lift it over the middle piece. And we're going to do that again. We have a new middle piece here, and we're going to lift a side piece over that. I started on the right side with that. So my next step here, I'm going to pull up a slice of hair from the right side. And what I'm going to do with that is combine it with the current tail that I have on the right side. We're going to get those, make one thick right tail, and I'm going to lift that over the middle again. So now we're going to alternate all the way down the head. I'm going to pull a slice on the left side. I'm going to combine it with that tail that I just dropped on there. Smooth this out. We don't want the under hair tangling in there. And lift that over the middle piece. Now I'm using a lot of finger work in here to get this done right. What you can see here, I've dropped this piece over here. I'm only holding 2 tails. That tail I've dropped because I know I'm going to combine it. And in here, I'm holding one piece with my pinkies, and the other piece I'm holding with my other fingers to keep them separate. And now I slide in here. If you're having trouble getting a good slice, maybe you've got fat fingers, who knows, that tail comb will help you get a good slice, nice even slice in here. So again, I'm going to take that right side, I'm going to lift it over the middle. Slice over here on the left side. I want to try and smooth these out while I'm working. It's much easier to smooth out now than after the braid is done. So, left side slice. The bigger the slice you take, the quicker this braid is going to be, and the bigger the chunks in here are going to be. It's going to look a little bit less impressive, not quite as intricate, but again, it will be quicker. It holds a little bit less because there's not as many. So when you want a really fancy braid, a lot of the braids that they do in movies and things, on, what's that one movie? Game of Thrones, they do a lot of intricate braids. Those are going to be using very small slices. Most people will use a little bit bigger slices, especially depending on what you're doing this braid for. So we're going to smooth these out. Again, what I've done here is I have dropped this tail in here. That way I'm not trying to hold too many things at once, because I know this tail is going to combine with this anyway. It gives my hands a little bit more freedom. The other thing that you're going to see is the bigger the slice you take, the harder it is to keep even as you come down. That's a little bit of practice. I'm going to take another slice on the right side, mix it in. Here we go. Keep this smooth. Sometimes if you're having, my daughter's hair is very straight. If your hair is very curly and you're having trouble keeping these pieces separate, you're more than welcome to take your wide tooth comb in here and bring this out. I use the wide tooth comb when I'm detangling. It's much healthier for the hair. It's not going to cause as much breakage. I'll use a brush after I've detangled to kind of help smooth some of the oils all the way through the hair. But that first detangling, I like to use that wide tooth comb. And then as I'm trying to work on my hairstyles, the brush is very clunky. It will grab hair from places I don't want it to grab hair. So I do like to use combs a lot. We're working our way down. We're almost here to the end. Now, one technique that you can do while you're braiding hair if you'd like, I am bringing the side and putting it over the middle. There's another technique in which you take the side and put it under the middle. When you do that in a French braid, it's often actually called a Dutch braid or an upside down braid. It will actually give the illusion that this braid is sitting up on top of the head. As here you can see it's very folded in. You almost can't see the braid. When you're doing those upside down braids, you probably want to use those smaller pieces. It will definitely make it look much more impressive. So right here, I've made it down to the end. I'm just going to grab some of these final pieces from the nape. And now that I have all my pieces in the braid, I'm just going to go ahead and continue this braid all the way down. Now you are going to see if you have layered hair, we're going to get these little pieces out here. One of the things that you can do with these little pieces, you can get a little bit of your product or mousse and kind of work those in there as you braid so that they don't come back out. The tail comb also can help with some of your tucking. So maybe get a little bit of your product on these. You know are going to be an issue. See if you can get them to stick to their little buddies in that tail, and then get them to just fold into that braid so they don't stick out. Now my daughter has some really good layering in her hair, and as I get much lower, I can't get those to stick in. So that's where I like to end my braid. And I can curl this or do something nice and cute with it. But I'm gonna go ahead and end my braid where I just can't stick those pieces in anymore. Now the French braid is a little bit better for those pieces than your standard braid, but you do sometimes end up just not able to get them into that braid. Now for your finishing touches on your braid, this is where my tail comb comes in. On this side, you've got a little bit of the lumping, and you can see some of these lines in here. Some people like those lines, but if you don't want those lines in there and you want it to be much more smooth, you can weave your tail comb in here and just kind of push those lines back into this braid. Also, maybe a light, don't get in too thick. Give yourself a 45-degree angle as you bring this comb in here and we're going to really smooth out those lines. You can see the difference between that side and this side where we've left the lines in. When you have streaks and colors in your hair, highlights, fancy colors, these lines are kind of nice for bringing those out, but other times you just want something nice and pretty and smooth. One trick, if you'd like, if you are braiding your hair, not necessarily for sleep, but maybe you have an activity and you really don't want your hair in your way at all. When you do this kind of French braid, not the upside down, there's actually kind of a little pocket right in here from where you did all your folding. You can take your tail and fold it up in here. And then if you have a bobby pin or something, you can pin that up right around where that elastic is. And now you don't have to worry about your tail flapping around, especially if you have much longer hair and you don't want it hitting you in the face or anything because you're going to be ballet spinning or something. That's completely out of your way. When my daughter has her hair braided at night, she loves to take it out in the morning, and it's going to be nice and wavy and pretty. It's very common for little girls to enjoy. However, her hair won't be wavy unless it's wet or has dried in a braid. But you never want to braid wet hair. When your hair becomes wet, the hair follicle, not the follicle, but the hair cuticle will become weak, it will stretch, and if it dries in a stretched state, it's going to damage your hair. So you always want to braid your hair dry. However, if you do want a nice wavy creation, you can spritz your hair and get it wet after the braid has been applied. So if we go ahead and wet down her hair right now, then it's going to dry and she'll have that beautiful wave, but we won't have damaged her hair. If you are going to be working on your family, cleaning is not as big a deal, but if you're going to be doing some braids for friends at a slumber party or something, you really don't want to be sharing combs unless you've very thoroughly cleaned them. You can throw these in the dishwasher, although if you've got like 7 people and you have one set of combs, that's going to take a while. So you want to make sure that you're not going to be spreading any diseases, because if they don't already live with you, somebody might be carrying something that you don't want to share. I have this that you, a disinfectant you can purchase probably at Sally's, not necessarily at Walmart. And this is a disinfectant that I can just spray on my combs and give them a few minutes to air dry, and they're good to use on another person without spreading any disease. And that is how you French braid hair. Thank you for your time.